All right, so we just got some news. Stellantis is starting to lay off, or at least they're offering voluntary layoffs to a lot of their salary employees. And what they said is that involuntary job cuts may be necessary if it doesn't meet its objectives through voluntary means. And what that means is that if not enough people sign up for this voluntary package, then they're going to start doing layoffs. So they recently just started talking a little bit more about this in the earnings calls about in their earnings call about cutting production. What does cutting production mean? It means that okay, if they're not making as many trucks, if they're not making as many vehicles, then they're going to let go of people. Now we know we just went through last year where UAW they just got this big raise, and we talked about this. We've talked about this for the last, 6 months to a year now, that we saw this coming. If they're going to not be selling as many vehicles through these dealers, they're going to have to make production cuts. And if they're doing that, they're going to lay off workers. So let's go through a little bit of their earnings. Their net revenue fell. Their net income, sorry, fell by 48%. CEO came out and said this was disappointing and humbling, almost like he was surprised to see these numbers. We knew that allocations were already getting turned down from a lot of these Stellantis dealers, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. We've been to a lot of these dealerships where not only do they have the new 2024 sitting on their lot, but they've got 2023s. And we've been to some dealerships lately that have had brand new 2022 Rams still sitting on their dealership lots. These trucks were marked down by $18,000 and they still had like two rows of them. So this is a big problem for Stellantis going forward. And my anticipation would be over the next couple quarters, we get this round of okay voluntary options for a lot of their workers. Probably not going to be enough of them actually take the buyout, take the voluntary layoff, however you want to call it, and then there's going to be mandatory layoffs that come through. We've already seen some of these layoffs already in Stellantis over the last 6 months or so. We're going to see more. It's going to happen. The car market is getting softer. It's an issue, right? So the customer that is coming from these manufacturers, it's not me and you, it's not the consumer. They sell to the dealers, and this is what we've been talking about for the last 6 months, where okay, these companies have been putting up good numbers, but the dealers have been screaming. And I get it all the time in my comments. Well, I mean, how can these companies be putting up record profits, record quarters, and doing great if nobody's buying these cars? I mean, you're putting that in your titles and your thumbnails, whatever. You're just trying to create alarm or get clicks or whatever. No, this is what we've been hearing from dealers, and you're not going to see it from the manufacturers until later on, because the manufacturers' customers are the dealers. So customers have to stop buying, and then at that point, dealer lots get overfilled, and at that point, the dealers stop buying straight from the manufacturer. But that's going to have a lag effect from where the consumer feels it to when the manufacturer feels it, because the dealer lots have to get filled up. Then they have to start turning down allocation before the manufacturers start putting up bad numbers. And we know that about 6 months ago, the switch flipped, right? And allocations started to get turned down then. And now we're starting to see it in these quarters. We look at GM, we look at Stellantis, now we look at Ford too. All three of them rough quarters, right? GM is the best of the three. They had decent numbers, but the stock market is seeing that there's a lot of headwinds that are facing them right now, and they know that the car market is not getting better. So even in the face of these good numbers coming from GM, stock still sold off. You look at Ford, they had bad numbers. Stock sold off. Stellantis, they had bad numbers. Stock sold off. So I want to pull up something that the CEO of Stellantis said. And in Stellantis fashion, he was actually blaming a lot of their problems from okay, some of the US plants producing too many vehicles that need repairs before they can be shipped to dealers. And he pointed to the Ram 1500 plant in Sterling Heights, Michigan. I can tell you that it's not that plant's fault that that Stellantis is having a lot of these issues. Now they did come out and say, okay, maybe we're not maybe we're definitely selling the wrong kind of vehicles for this market. I went to a Jeep, Dodge, and Ram dealership this morning so I could shoot a video for our main channel, and they had, I think it was 16 or 17 Wagoneers out there. Now these Wagoneers, they're 85, 95, $105,000 depending on the trim level. And yes, I would agree with their CEO saying, yes, they are not making the kind of vehicles for this market. People cannot afford to buy these Wagoneers. And the reason why I point out these vehicles is because a year ago, I've kept track of this particular dealership and how many of these Wagoneers they're having on their lot, how if they're moving through them, if they're moving through them quickly, because I want to use that to gauge the upper end of the market and see who's actually buying cars, if they're buying cars, and how long they're sitting. But about a year ago or so, they would have 4 or 5 of these Wagoneers on the lot. 6 months ago, they bumped up to maybe 8 or 9, and they were sitting for longer. And now they have 16, 17, 18 sitting on their lot. Yeah, they're getting vehicles in. These dealerships have to be as outraged by a lot of this as I am. It may be even more so because they're losing money over this. Floor plan costs are going up. Their vehicles are sitting longer. But you have these Wagoneers that are $100,000, and they have 17, 18 of them out there. So they have millions of dollars sitting in inventory when they're screaming to their manufacturer, okay, we need cheaper cars. But guess what? They're just keep getting more Wagoneers. And there were rows of Jeep Grand Cherokees that were 50, $60,000. The cheapest thing that I saw out there was like a Dodge Hornet. And we know that those are like the worst selling vehicles that are on the market right now. And they were still like $35,000, but they had almost I think they said 7 or 8 of those. And it's going to be just a factor of, okay, these dealerships are going to be just really forced all of these allocations from the manufacturer, and they really can't take them. So now we're going to see that a lot of them are going to turn them down, and that's when we start seeing the numbers. So they were turned down about 3 to 6 months ago. This is the quarter that we're going to start seeing a lot of that show up. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is just now starting to creep into numbers. Stock prices are going to get hit now. So we talked about them realizing that they're not building the right kind of vehicles to meet the this kind of market. They said meet market demand, but all they're really saying is the market's weak, and our vehicles are too expensive. We're not making the right kinds of vehicles to get into people's hands. So they're going to change some of their process. One thing that was interesting that they said is that, okay, the new vehicles that are coming up this time around should actually help their profitability. Here's the problem, though. If the dealers can't take them, it doesn't matter. We already talked about these Rams that they have sitting on their lots that are still 2022s and brand new that they can't move. Well, if they have the new round of vehicles that are coming in, it doesn't matter how much money you're going to be able to make on those vehicles if you can't sell them, if dealers can't take them. So this is going to be something that continues to go on. And just to go back to the theme of what's going on here, let me get back onto the screen. That's layoffs are happening, and they're going to come, and they're going to come in a bigger way. And it's not going to be just Stellantis. We're going to see layoffs come through Ford, probably GM in a smaller capacity, but all of these manufacturers are having similar problems. So they're offering it to what it sounds like about 11,000 salaried workers in the U.S., but it's really unclear how many are going to be eligible, and what the offer is going to be, and what their goal is for a headcount. They just know that they have to reduce production and they have to reduce costs, and the way to do that is to reduce your workforce, and that's the approach that they're taking right now. And So the thing is that Stellantis wants to reduce their output and cut their prices. So we had GM's earnings call, and on GM's earnings call, they said that in the back half of this year, that they're anticipating that inflation is going to hit them a little bit harder than they did in the first part of the year. I'm not sure if what they're seeing to have that cause that they called it on commodity prices. So they're anticipating that inflation's going to rear up a little bit more than what they dealt with in the first half of the year. So if that's going to hit Stellantis too, then you're going to see even more layoffs come through. So I wanted to go to the chat. So I saw something interesting. Let's see here. Yep. Here we go. So Charlie says it's very disappointing as a Jeep Ram owner to see what Stellantis management has done to the brand that I love. It makes me furious. So we've talked about this quite a bit in the last few months. We've had a lot more recalls come through, probably more on the Ford side than we have on Stellantis, but quality has been an issue for the last decade now with a lot of these auto manufacturers. We're seeing recall after recall, and you look at a brand like Jeep. Ram, I probably wouldn't throw into this bucket as much as Jeep, but Jeep is one of your like steady American brands. I mean, you have Jeep diehards. You have guys who all they drive is Jeep. All they want to work on is Jeep. They want to go off road, and that's the only thing that they want to do it in is a Jeep. And this is a brand that it's really getting hurt by the decisions of this company, the decisions of management, and it's really sad to see. And I'm almost wondering if the route of what's going to happen to Jeep is if some of these companies within Stellantis might actually get sold to other companies, because I don't feel like every one of them is going to make it. Every brand is going to make it within. Chrysler is an easy one to see within Stellantis that, okay, they have limited products that they're releasing now. It seems like the actual brand name's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And this is another American brand that's it's just difficult to see where the direction of really what the companies. And I'm stumbling over my words because I'm trying to make sure that I don't I want to use the right words. I don't want to actually go after the individuals that are doing a lot of this to the company, but I feel very strongly about it. I don't feel like they're making the right decisions for the companies if they want them to stay in business. There we go. That's good enough for that one. So let's start answering some questions. So Ron asked, what changes will we see when the new FTC regulations go into effect today? He's talking about the new rules surrounding how like dealers can advertise, throwing junk fees in there or whatever. And I'm sad to say I don't think anything's going to change. So what's going to happen for these rules to actually take effect and for dealers to make changes where they have to show you a real price, they have to show you what junk fees you're going to have to pay, even what's defined as a junk fee, if they can even charge it, that kind of stuff. You're going to have the FTC come in and make some examples of some big dealerships. I don't have faith in the FTC to come in and do anything. I think that they will probably maybe slap a couple small fees and it will be business as usual. And the problem is if they do go in, they make it a big example of someone, and dealers have to change something drastically real quick, or they're going to get some massive fines. They will find another loophole. So if they have to stop charging for nitrogen because it's deemed just a BS fee and it doesn't provide any actual benefit to the customer, then what they'll do is they'll package it with something else, and they'll figure out some other fee that does sound like it's beneficial. And then at that point, then the FTC is going to have to deem that as not beneficial to the customer. But you're going to just have this cycle of, okay, FTC says you can't do this, well, the dealer's just going to charge extra for something over here. And it might go to the place where, okay, if the FTC is successful in taking off a lot of these fees and making dealers actually show what the fee is before you get to the dealership, then maybe they won't regulate the actual dock fee in some states, because the dock fee is all over the place in most states. Some states it's regulated, some states it's not. And in those states where it's not, then all those added junk fees. The dealership I was at this morning had $4,000 in junk fees. Maybe instead of a $799 dock fee, the dock fees here in North Carolina start looking more like $3,000 and $4,000. There's always going to be a workaround for these dealers. But no, I don't have faith that the FTC is going to change anything. At least they won't do it quickly. All right, we got another question. Should I wait till the end of the year to buy a car regardless of the brand if the car market is starting to collapse? So we've seen car prices go down in a big way, especially on the wholesale side. And we're seeing a lot of it now on the new car side too, where you can go into a dealership, and even though the prices aren't advertised, you can get them to take all the fees off, and then you can get a vehicle under MSRP. I know you can do this because I just did it. We went to a Honda dealer. They had 4,000 plus dollars worth of add-ons. We went in and we got a Honda Odyssey for 10% under MSRP. So if you're going to new car dealerships and you're seeing that car dealers are not lowering their prices in a big way, it's because you're not asking the right questions, you're not good at negotiating, or you're not willing to travel out of your area. New car prices are coming down. All add-ons can be taken off now. You just have to go to the right dealership, and you have to know what to do to negotiate money off of your deal. So on the used car dealer side, it's a little bit more tricky because they're going to react to what the market does. So as the wholesale prices come down, they're going to lag that. They're going to want to keep their prices high because they thought they could get the same price today that they could get 3 months ago. They're going to figure out they can't. So a month later, then they're going to lower their prices by 10%, figure out they can't get it at that price. Then they're going to lower their prices by 10% again. And then we'll find where the market allows used car dealers to actually sell their cars. But we have seen that wholesale prices have gone down in a big way. But to get back to exactly what you're asking for a question, yes, if you wait, the longer you wait, the better deal you will get. Car dealers, we're seeing it with these earnings releases. We're seeing that car dealers on the new side are having a hard time. I'm seeing at the auctions that used car dealers are having a hard time right now. It's going to take more time to get them into the mode where they have to sell and not just want to sell. We want dealers to get to a place where they have to sell their cars, and they have to sell them quickly. They all have floor plans that they have to pay. They all have interest that they have to pay on these cars. The longer that they keep the cars, the more money they're going to have in them. But you're going to have situations too where you have a car dealer, especially on the used car side, where, okay, they might not have the money to make up the difference of what they have to sell the car for versus what they actually have in the car. So in those situations, no, that car dealer is not going to lower their price because they literally can't. They don't have any money to make up the difference of what they owe on their cars versus what they can actually sell them for. And unfortunately, in those situations, those cars will probably be repossessed by the financial institution. Yes, car dealers can get their cars repossessed, and they do. We're seeing it at auction right now that some of these floor plan companies are going and taking lots of their clients, the used car dealers that are borrowing through them, their cars, and they're going and they're helping them sell them. When I mean helping them, they're taking them to the auction, they're dumping them, and then that car dealer is responsible for the difference that those cars bring. And most of these car dealers, they don't have money. So in those situations, those car dealers have to sell, but they don't have to sell to a customer. They need money today, and customers take a long time to wait on to get there. So they it's almost probably more often that if a dealer's just going to lose their shirt on a car, it's not going to be to a customer. It's going to be to the auction, or it's going to be because they got it repossessed from their floor plan company, which then dumps it at auction. And I can go ahead and tell you that any of those cars that are getting rerun at the auction by an independent dealer, they're going to bring so much less money. Not only because the market's just moving down, so that car they bought 3 months ago is going to be worth substantially less today than it was 3 months ago when they bought it, but also because we can see who's selling these cars. And if I see that an independent dealer is selling a car at the auction, I'm not buying it because I know that they couldn't sell it on their lot. So what makes me think I can sell it on my lot? So a lot of other dealers think the same way as I do. There's going to be something really mechanically wrong with that car for that car to end up at the auction, or it's just an undesirable car. So that car dealer just needed to get rid of it and they couldn't sell it to a customer. So other independent dealers just like me, we're not going to bid on it, so it doesn't bring very much money as compared to a trade-in from a franchise dealer. So that's how a lot of these car dealers can get hurt, will get hurt, and are getting hurt right now. And there's going to be quite a few of them, I feel like, go out of business, and we're seeing plenty of cracks and more big holes in the market. We're past the cracking stage. Now we're seeing it from earnings reports. We're hearing it from dealers. We're seeing it at the auctions that the car market's in a bad place right now. In my estimation, it's going to get worse from here. So I'm very interested to see the next few quarters really pop out from these manufacturers. Ford is the next one that I think is going to be in big time trouble. I think Stellantis were already there. And Ford is probably next. GM, I think we got a little ways to go. They've seemed to hold their own pretty well and been able to put out good numbers, but they do have a lot of headwinds that they're facing into, especially in this market. But if you want to see some of the cars that we are selling, I bought some newer used cars. Usually my niche is $5,000, but we've had some people ask if we could try to buy some newer used cars because they don't necessarily want to buy a car that's $5,000 and under. We've teamed up with Car Edge to do this. But if you go to caredge.com/CQA, and I put a link down in the description below, you can actually see some of the cars that I bought. You can see exactly how much I paid for them, all the fees I have in them, and you can see exactly the profit that I'm making on the car. We want to be transparent, and we're showing that all to you. But there's a link to it down in the description below. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like, do all the things.